What is going on, guys? Ryan here with another episode of the Dent Digest Live Show. See me rocking the new Dent Reaper face mask. So if you need a mask, Dent Reaper, he's got them out there. Let me take this thing off so you guys can hear what I'm talking about here. So I want to personally thank everybody out there that reached out for my birthday and said special thanks and all that good stuff. It was really, really touching. It was a really, really nice birthday. And, you know, you guys know that I kind of took the day off to spend with the family and enjoy the day, you know. Hope all you guys are being safe out there. You know, it's some crazy times. You know, one thing I do want to touch on, my phone's always open. And what I mean by that is, you know, everybody's kind of going through this pandemic fatigue, and it's winter time. It's getting cold, and, you know, depression, and people are getting sad. And so if anybody out there in the community needs to just talk about whatever, I'm always there for you. I'm always open. Find me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Snapchat, Twitter. Just call me. Doesn't matter. You know, just call anybody. Any friend you have out there, reach out and just say, hey, having one of those days. No questions asked. Doesn't matter what it is. So the community's out there for everybody. Just make sure you reach out. You know, we had some stuff here locally with, you know, a friend of ours that, you know, suicide, you know, purchased a business, went through the whole thing and, you know, did his thing. So it's a crazy time in the world. So don't feel like you can't just reach out and talk. So we're all here. But yeah, man, I hope you guys are having a great week. It's been a pretty good week for me. I've got some pretty big news coming here in the next couple of weeks. I can't really talk about it right now, but as soon as I can, you guys are going to be the first ones to know. So, but I want to bring my guest on and get this show started. We've got a really, really, really heavy tool show. So kind of precursor for Black Friday show that's coming up that Manny's PDR is going to host it with me. And we're going to do our marathon. We're going to start a little earlier because it is, I think it's like 25 or 30 manufacturers I'm going to try to get on live. So it's going to be interesting. But let me get Mr. Dave on. What's up, Dave?
What's going on, guys? So
hey, hold on. I want to bring something up real quick. So I reached out to Dave and I'm like, hey, I want to get you on the show. And he's like, I don't have anything to bring on the show. I got nothing for you. Don't be scared, Dave. It's just Facebook, and, you know.
It was like talking in junior high, trying to talk to a girl. I mean, I got all locked up. I don't know what.
And I don't know why. I mean, we've talked plenty of times. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So,
how are you?
Great. Just been busy, and yeah, it's been crazy times, and it's not slowing down out there. There's no shortage of dents, and just thankful to be staying busy, and man, just doing it to it, banging metal.
That's it, man. It is crazy times. I mean, it's I don't know, like when we reopened, it was just gangbusters. Now it's finally slowing down, but they're starting to shut down stuff here. So things are changing. It's that unknown again. So I don't know. We'll see, man. You know, it's for me, I don't mind because I like to slow down a little bit in the winter and kind of regroup. You know what I mean? Just kind of feel calm down. Like today we had 4 bigger jobs, but it was like, take your breath and just get it done, you know?
In surfing terms, it's like coming up for a breath before you get drilled again. So it's nice to get a few breaths in before you take another one on the head. So
that's it, man. It was just so chill today. I was like, man, I wish every day was like that. Cheers to the Dent Reaper. Thanks for the coffee mug for my birthday. I appreciate it. I don't drink coffee, but we got some fresh, clean water in there. And make, like I said, get yourself a Dent Reaper face mask if you got to wear a face mask. Thought it was pretty cool. Now I'm still waiting for the fanny pack. So, you know, as soon as the fanny packs come out, we're doing it. So has the pandemic affected you in any way?
Okay, so it did, and I don't know if you want to talk about that in our. Do you want me to just get right into?
No, we'll wait for a little while. We'll get back in there. I want to kind of blow out. I mean, we've got a lot of tools. So
yes, we do. So you want to start, or you want me to?
You know what? I'm going to blow through mine pretty quick.
Okay.
So first off, shout out to Anson. This cold weather glue from them now, the Tequila Cold, is fantastic. I was a Swiss Blue green guy. It got cold over here, I guess, last week, and this stuff just kills it. It really does. It does a fantastic job. Great job, Craig from Anson. So we got a heavy Glexo kind of tool reveal stuff here. We got a bunch of new stuff from them that I wanted to get on, but I'm going to go to the easy stuff first. So a lot of you guys have purchased this standard, the full kit from Glexo, which comes in this little wooden box, and you know that it has the different size tabs that go in there. Well, they've updated their newest set, and it's a huge update. I can say I just did a review on this stuff that I've been sitting on for a year. Been telling Olga, I was like, I got a review coming. It's coming, I promise. Huge believer in the Glexo. I've had it all. I've had Sergio's cold glue. I've had sticky tab tape. Something about this, for me personally, just works better than the rest. So I showed in that review how I carry my Glexo in a plastic bin with these little silicone covers and you know, how I store it. But this eliminates that problem. So what they have is this nice brown Glexo full box. It's a little larger. And you know, Glexo stuff, the presentation is by far the best in the industry. It really is. I mean, the quality of the stuff here. So you're going to take the cover off, and I'm going to show you the differences. You open it up, comes with a little welcome kit, kind of like the instruction manual. Then it's got a foam top, okay, which I think is really clever. Now you take the foam top off, and here's your full kit. And with this full kit, what is different here? You obviously see that the new Glexo packaging is square. Just fits in there a little better. And what you can really see how these tabs move around inside this thing. It gives you room to leave the Glexo on the tab and stick it in here, and it won't stick. So it eliminates the paper. It eliminates all that pain in the butt, or buying the silicone covers from Kiko, which I still love those things. You know, I'm not saying either way is wrong. Now, some of the updates on the tabs themselves, the shaft here is much larger, the shaft of the actual head of the tab. And then it's got the integrated O-ring. I have the hail kit with the integrated O-rings, but they kind of move around. These are solid on there. They don't move around a whole lot. And what that's doing is locking it in the slide hammer so it doesn't back out sometimes on you when you're trying to wiggle it and get a good thing. So it does come with some extra O-rings if they do get torn. But this new kit you're able to put the tabs in here with the glue is a fantastic idea. There's enough room in there to make it happen. So good job, Glexo. Like I said, I'm a huge Glexo fan, and this is perfect for me to leave in one location and you know, work out of this gorgeous wood box. So the next one, we're going to get into this stuff. We've got their screw-on tips that there hasn't been. I know Mike Toledo talked about them, I think, the other week. Can't even get it right. I'm all backwards, but It's a screw-on tips, and what it is they're wooden tips, wooden screw-on tips. You have the dark wood ones, which are here. This tip right here is fantastic. I was actually telling Dave about this before the show. This wooden round tip is fantastic on big dents. It doesn't really slide on the panel. It's not real slick, and they push really, really well. I mean, I've been using this one, and it's not dull. I mean, it's not torn up in any way. So whatever wood this stuff is really, really hard. And you have a couple different options, some push tips, some sharper tips. Then they also have a lighter color, which is a little softer material, but I mean, you're not tearing them up, you know, as in like some of these, this thing right here is still, out of both kits, these are my favorite. This, and then their standard regular knockdown tip, which also is brass fitted with an O-ring. And even on the brass has their logo engraved in it. I mean, the quality, like I said before, not sponsored by Glexo, but they just got really good products, man. It's now the last one, I kind of sneaked these last week on one of my Instagram stories, and it's their new 3 wooden knockdowns with these brass inserts. Quality again, this leather sleeve, really, really nice in the hand. I'm going to do the Crush 1 first, which is kind of a flat tipped VIP looking end on it. Now the Crush 2 is by far my favorite, and I've been using it ever since I got it, which is like a standard knockdown, does not mar the paint. And I have beat on this thing with a metal hammer. I'm actually using the Carbon Tech Daniel Grom hammer, and it has not made a mark on this thing. So this is by far my favorite. I was talking to Pack, and he's like, what do you think? And I was like, this thing is fantastic. Then they've got their third one, which is a little more blunt. That works really, really well also for the larger stuff. But like I said, it's just not marred. I don't know what material this is, but it's got a brass insert. Really good stuff, man. I mean, it's... what do you use? Do you use Glexo?
Yeah, I do. So I just got Glexo not too long ago. And it's great for those dents where, you know, the front of the quarter panels, like in the dogleg area where you don't want to mess around with anything. There's no factory hole in there. You just want to hit it real quick, maybe blend it out and be done with it. I found it to shine where like roofs are just hammered. Out here would be like luggage racks or whatever messes a roof up. You can go through there and just hammer on that thing and blend out all that crown and really make quick work out of those roofs.
I get a lot of the roofs to where they're damaged, like almost to the rail.
Yep.
You know, it's like got that big low right by the edge of the rail by the roof molding.
Exactly.
And I'll go in and just dolly the edge a little bit, bring up that edge, and then just cold glue it. And it saves me so much time.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I have been messing around with the Kiko hail set, their new Kiko hail tab set.
Uh-huh.
And the concept I really, really like. And that concept is pretty much you're putting Glexo on those tabs. The tabs you stick on the car. Okay. Then you come back with the slide hammer, pow, and then come back, pow, and pow. You just keep going to the next one.
Okay.
So I really, really like that concept. But I don't know, man. It's fantastic stuff. It really is. I've been a huge cold glue. A lot of my buddies were like, I'm not using cold glue, man. That stuff doesn't work. And I'm like, even the sticky tab tape, that stuff worked for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. They must be making those knockdowns out of the same wood that Noah's Ark was made out of, like sulfur wood or something.
Maybe. I don't know. It's hard. It's really hard. I mean, I dropped it on the ground and it didn't even mar it. Like I'm like, I don't. What are you making these things out of? So I don't know. So what do you got?
Okay, so I brought two that. Okay, so Ultra has these. The first one's the ST1206B. This thing is a screw-on tip, but it's just got like a small 90. And a lot of times you got those double bends where you can put, whatever tip you want on it. But when you're moving heavy metal, I found this thing like getting in through hatches and factory holes and stuff, just having that little 90 right there sometimes will just be the difference. Yeah. And so this thing's just great I used it the other day, and my dent dial was getting in on it and kind of at an angle or whatever. And then I thought about this guy. I'm like, let me go grab it. And sure enough, I got in through a factory hole and just manhandled it out, and it saved the day. So I'm sure many of you guys have it, but for those of you that don't, I've geared a lot of my content. I guess I need to, if that's what I can call it, but towards like the up and coming guys. And I probably need to gear it more towards marketing side of it. And maybe eventually I'll get there, but just getting the younger guys that if they're here, they're passionate. Otherwise they wouldn't even be here, and they wouldn't be looking at our videos. And so I try and drop little nuggets of what I've come up with along the way for those guys. And hopefully they're picking stuff up. But, usually when you get good tools, it's from someone telling you about it, and you're thankful that they told you about that tool, and now you got it. Otherwise you wouldn't have it in your arsenal.
Well, sometimes that double bend is just too much in that hole. You know what I mean? You're getting too much leverage, or sometimes they don't fit. So that's a fantastic tool to also,
So, and that if they may have a longer one. When you go to Ultra, since we live out here.
You lucky. I don't even want to. Don't brag it in. Don't rub it in, dude.
You walk in there and it's like they're playing over the speakers that sound of heaven opening up, like, oh.
I don't even want to hear it.
You know that you're going to get in trouble because your wife knows you're there and you're busted already. So you might as well just get what you're going to get anyways, right?
It's probably better that I don't live that close.
And so the other one that I got that fits right in this category with the one I showed last is this Ultra. It's a little 3/8, maybe I don't know,
20 inches,
something like that. And this one actually has the tip where you can put on the rubber cap, the vinyl cap, test tape, whatever. But this thing is sweet because it's small and it's 3/8, so it gets into most factory access points, and it's got strength. Some of my other Ultra ones, I've seen Dave from Dentless Touch. His was all bent, and I looked at mine, and sure enough, mine was all bent too. But this is not bent, and this thing is just a money maker. If you guys don't have this, it's ST3801.
Look at Dave doing homework on the model number of the tools.
This thing's a money maker for sure, and you'll come across situations where you're glad you had it. I used it on my last dent today.
Now your buddy Thomas Wardell is saying, you're the best dent guy in OC. Thanks for training me in your surfing Saturday, huh?
Yeah. You know where we'll be. Yeah, I did train Thomas, and I'm glad I did. And I don't train guys, and I didn't ask for anything. He goes to my church, and he's a young guy, and something told me, Thomas, you interested? And he's like, back in the day when I got started, I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I got brought into it. And so he wanted to do it, and I trained him, and he's off and running already. So it's pretty cool.
That's cool.
You want me to get right into the next one?
Yeah, keep rocking.
Okay. Another tool that I really like, I don't use it all the time, but at least every day I use it. It's this Care Point. It's got that slow bend right there. Most of our tools have more of a more of a 90 type
Yeah.
loop to it. This thing, it's got a super slow bend, and it's different than all the other stuff you're using. So when you're searching for that tool that you need a little something different, this will come in handy. Like factory holes up in quarter panels, up under the wheel well, you name it. Going through the tail light area, if you just want to move the felt back and get in there, this has like a angle that'll get where other double bends just won't. You guys can figure it out. You'll realize that, man.
And that's a ratcheting handle, correct?
It is. And it's a great ratcheting handle because it's never going to come out on you. Maybe if you're in a super tight area, but it's not problematic at all.
Eric Emerson saying, Dave's always great for sharing his knowledge and all-around good dude, but those Dodger hats.
Yeah, man. I was born a Dodger fan, and the kids are now. And, you know, the in-laws, man, we got some great in-laws. I always hear these stories about in-laws, and I just don't get it, man. We got good ones. They got seats and good ones. So, yeah, I don't have a choice in the matter. Love them Dodgers. But yeah, so guys, I would recommend getting that too.
What's the model number?
Ah, shoot.
Gotcha.
I don't know. It's a blue handle.
I'm just kidding, man. I'm just kidding.
And it's not 3/8. It's the next one down. What is that?
Quarter
or something? No,
it's 5/16. Yeah.
And so I wish, maybe I need to look, but if they have a 3/8 in this, I'm going to get that too. So that's how nice of a tool that is. Ryan, I got to hand it to you, man. You turned me on to the Endeavor, the crown jewel tips. And it's one of my best purchases of the year. I just can't believe something so simple can be so amazing and just change the game of what you're doing. And not throwing game changer around, but this is game changer. And
yeah,
just
hits different.
Yeah, and this one right here, the small, I'm doing pinpoint crown work with this. Yeah. Pinpoint. I mean, you're where you hit, you're doing what you're supposed to do. And you wouldn't think so looking at this thing, but you can do major pinpoint crownage, like on sharp crowns or whatever. Got to have that. The big one, I got this one on this hammer. Zandy from Zandy Dents in Texas made this for me and sent it to me. It's heavy, and so I only have the two. I have the large and I have the small of the crown jewels, and probably should have the middle size too.
And they even make a really small one.
Really? Okay.
There's a smaller one than that one. So.
All right. Well, I'm sure my wife's watching, so she knows what to put on the Christmas list. But yeah, this thing, man, when you're working crown, it's wonderful. And before, the stuff we were using, which still has its place, but you know, you're using the Dentcraft, the reds and the blues.
Yeah, of course. But
I mean, then you switch up to this, and you just couldn't wrap your mind around like where's it been all my life, you know? And
yeah,
knocking down heavy crown and being able to fix your texture and stuff. So major, gotta have those. You have to have those. If there's one thing that you take away from what I'm going to show you, gotta get those.
And his new ones are made out of stainless, so they're a little heavier than those.
Okay. All right.
So he's stopping making them out of aluminum, and now he's going stainless.
Okay.
Just a bit heavier.
Perfect. Because that's why I got it on this heavy hammer, because it just drops and does the job. And then one other knockdown that I wanted to show you guys, many of you might have it. It is from PDR Finesse, and it's a normal knockdown plastic, but it's got a metal insert in the end.
It's a loaded knockdown.
Yes. And this thing, it moves metal differently. So when you've got your however many knockdowns you're using,
13.
Right. And you know when you're pulling them out too. And this one right here, it's got its place. And I've even knocked down crown with this thing beautifully. So that's to tell you what kind of metal it's moving. It's moving it softer. It's not as pinpoint precise like your VIP or your no roll edgy or your dead on.
Yeah.
Right.
And you're going to do an unboxing here in a minute, aren't you?
Yes, I am. And then, all right, so 2 other tools. And then, so I want to show you guys hands down the #1 tool that I use all day long. So I do a lot of route stuff and retail now, but the #1 tool I have in my bag, I'm grabbing is the Dent Reaper. And don't go blowing up Vidine, but you guys see the tip on this thing? It's not as sharp as the other one I got. And you can do all things with this one. All things. Start, finish. It's a one-stop shop on this.
How did you get it?
I ordered it like years ago, and that's the way it came. And so I call it my original. Let me get this thing.
OG.
The OG tip. So don't be blowing up Vidine. I'm sure he doesn't want to be selling any of these, but man, I'm telling you guys, I've got the Drew's Tools handle on it. This was before Hiley came out with his Gorilla Grip, so I'm really tempted to get something with that. But it's octagon.
Ultra adapter too, yeah.
It's octagon. And the Drew's Tools handle, man, I'm telling you that it's thick enough to get, and it's big enough, but I'm thinking that Gorilla Grip is going to take the cake. So that's the #1 tool I use, guys. The tip on that, it's one and done on that. The other tool, #2 would be the Dent Craft tail. And then that's the purple handle. And then probably the third one that I'm grabbing the most would be this Blem double bend. And if you guys look at the tip on this, it's like rounded and shaved. Sorry, guys. It's a rounded shaved tip. And I'm telling you guys, when you don't have this wrapped with Tessa and you yank that off and you get up in factory holes or whatever, fenders, this thing moves metal great. It's not too sharp, but it will push exactly where you want it. So I highly recommend that Blem tool. So, and then you want me to get right into my unboxing?
Let's do it. I'm going to blow your screen up so it's just you on the screen, so don't be surprised.
All right. So
there you go.
So I did get a couple tools in the mail yesterday. And when you guys see this show up at your doorstep, it ought to put a smile on your face because you know you're about to get something good. I just want to point out, Anzen has the best customer service. It's unbelievable. I mean, not just the goodie bag that they give you, but so I ordered firing pin, Pee-wee, love those. Those are great knockdown tips. Dead centers, got more of those. Just those go without it. You guys already know about that. I really like the Bloody Orange Smooth. I got the variety. Really like those. They pull hard, and I haven't broke one yet, so it's great. Got some Hog Orange out here. I just use the orange only, and it's great stuff. Their goodie bag. I love how they send you extras in the goodie bag because we find out about, like we spoke earlier, about how your friends or different techs will tell you about tools that you got to have. And Anzen's that guy. They're turning you on to different tabs. That's how I found out about the Bloody Oranges. They sent a sample. I loved it. And then I had to have it. Just these extras that they're giving you. But not only that, these guys sent me 10 sticks of Snowflake since it's winter to try out, I guess. I'm nobody, so it's not like they're sending it to some guy who, I'm just a normal guy. but they're sending me 10 free sticks of snowflake. Like that's, you won me. I'm a customer for life.
You're going to have to tell us how you're going to have to come back on here and tell us how the snowflake works out.
Yeah. And it only gets cold here in the mornings. And I've only had that issue where you have to glue pull in the morning and it's not working because the glue is just cracking off or whatever.
So it's almost like you got to run 2 glue guns there.
Well, I already have 2, so now I'm gonna have to buy another one from them. So I see where they're going with that.
It's the hook, it's the hook.
And then I also got, if you guys can see this, I got the K-bar. Yes. And I haven't had one, obviously. I just now got it, but haven't used it yet. But I remember seeing Manny did a video where he used, I believe it was Manny. He did a video where he used the K-bar and just manhandled and just turned a dent, just minimized it in a matter of seconds. And I knew right away I had to get that in my arsenal. So finally got it and I'm pumped. And I'm sure Ryan and you probably know where it shines best, but.
That's a fantastic tool. There's so many options you can use that with. You know what I mean? I mean, I like it because you can one hand pull and you can knock down with the other hand.
Okay.
So it's almost you're almost like having the pimp stick and you can knock the crown while you're just applying a little bit of pressure on there and you can knock. A lot of times after you're knocking for a couple minutes, it'll break loose. Okay. But it's giving you that second pair of hands you really don't have.
Right.
So it's a great tool. Even the adapters that they give you in there, it fits so many tabs. I use a lot of centipedes with that tool.
So I do have Sal's slot bar, and I've used that in certain situations where you really need to yank metal hard or like that, where you need both hands to move crown. But I do want to get the K-beam. I've seen in videos where the K-beam just saves the day.
I've got the mini K-beam, which works fantastic. It seems to apply more even pressure. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. I used it on like a fender, a nasty crease through a fender, and just stuck it up there. And it does a really good job.
So if I was going to get one first, would you think the mini or just go with the long since I have the slot?
I would just go with the long since you have the slot. It's almost the same tool. You know what I mean? It's very similar as in what it's doing.
Right.
So
that's what I got today.
So we're 33 minutes in with tools. Look at that. The guys love the tools, so it's all good.
Get those credit cards ready for the
Black Friday's coming. I'm telling you, there's going to be some blowout sales. You know what I mean? It's, I don't know. It's going to be a good show. I'm excited. It's a lot of work. Black Friday show marathon is, it's extremely difficult because if one guy goes over, the next 13 people are over. So,
last year's show is what, 3 hours or?
Yes. 3 hours being live talking is brutal.
Not a dull moment on our end though.
This year, last year it was Shane was helping me. This year it's going to be my wife. So, she's going to be manning the phone and texting people and trying to keep me on track. So, but let's get into you. That's the whole reason we could talk tools the rest of the night and not have to bring you on another day.
All right.
So how long you been pushing PDR?
So going on 20 plus years. I think it'll be 21 at some point this year. Just banging metal this whole time. I've been a route guy the entire time. And then, thankfully, man, God's been good to me. I'm a believer, and now I get to look back and see how I've been in the palm of his hand this whole time, and it's great. So he's had me over at the #1 BMW dealership in the country. I don't know how many years running, but that was me getting going on that much volume of great metal on BMWs. And it's definitely shaped me into the tech I am today. I mean, I'm not claiming to be the best, but definitely not the worst, you know? And it's just being able to work on that kind of metal and that many, just tens of thousands of cars. And
So how did you get started?
So,
Let's get into that.
So I'll try and speed this one up, but it's another one where you look back and you just know like it was meant to be. And so I've got a buddy, Ron, who got him finally on Instagram. It's American Dent Repair, I believe, or American Dent Removal. And back in the day, we would work together doing roofing, construction, that type thing. And I was young, working with him, making money. And he's a hardworking guy. And one weekend, I forget what the deal was. I think he broke his foot, and it was El Nino, and he needed some extra money. And he went out in front of Home Depot. And if you can imagine a little white Italian guy, fiery Italian out in front of Home Depot looking for work, you know, he stood out like a sore thumb. And so just so happens, and nothing just so happens, but the owner and the vice president of Ding King, which back in the day was big deal. You know, they had some of the best techs. I remember back then they had some of the best techs on the West Coast, and they seen him sitting there, and they're probably baffled at what they were seeing, and they went over and asked him, "Hey, you want to come throw epoxy flooring in our warehouse?" And he went and did that, and they were impressed with his work ethic and asked him, "Hey, you want to come learn PDR?" And 6 months later, he hits me up and he's like, "Hey, kid, you want to come do this?" And I had no idea what I was going to do back then. Like 19 years old. And
yeah.
So I'm like, sure. And so they didn't have a spot for me right away. But back then the vice president was Dan Shaves, and he had me doing crown moldings in his house until they had a spot open for me. And I'm sitting there doing crown moldings, and his phone rings, and he comes over and says, "Hey, kid, you want to go to Germany and pull headliners for Hail Team?" I'm like, sure. So we get over to the post office, expedite, get a passport over, and off I go. And I'm over in Germany pulling headliners for this Hail Team that were from Italy, Texas, a group of Americans and Italians. And it was at this holding facility that, as far as the eye could see, there's cars, and they're all new cars, Mercedes, Fiat, probably Peugeot, or who knows, but maybe a corner of the lot. I don't know. They got hit. And so the manufacturers had their QC guys there. They'd bring it in, we'd drop them, send it over to those guys. They'd swing it back around. We'd button them back up. And that was my intro to PDR. And the funny thing is that I was so concerned with blasting out my task that I had that I didn't really pay too much attention to what those guys were doing. But I do remember that the rental cars they had, they would go kicking big dents in the rental cars and laughing about it. And I got a kick out of that because I'd never seen anything like that before at that age, you know, and just it was eye-opening. And when I got back, they had a spot for me at Ding King.
How long were you there?
6 weeks. 6 weeks. Yeah. And
was that an adjustment?
Not really. I was used to working, you know, and
yeah, but I mean, you're in a different country, you're different foods, different language.
It wasn't much different. But the cool thing is that they had us up at this bed and breakfast where we were staying there. And it was I'm glad you asked this, but there was a Sicilian and his girlfriend or wife that ran this bed and breakfast. And man, you get your breakfast and then you do your own lunch when you're out there. But their dinners, man, these guys brought wave after wave after wave, course after course after course of food to the table, to where you couldn't eat anymore, and they're offended at you for turning it away. You had to at least eat something. And that was one thing that stuck with me. Just, I've never witnessed anything like that before. And some of the stuff that they were bringing to the table, maybe now I would have tried it, like looked like some sort of gopher or something. It looked like it had his eyeballs in it still, but little fish, plate full of like little fish and stuff. But the food was great, and that was an experience. Yeah, so that was about the only kind of adjustment. Made me realize how good we have it over here in the United States, because it's cool to go visit Europe, but man, I love it over here, and that's why we really have something to fight for here in America. You know, it's really unique, and it's a great place to be. So anyways, I come back, and Dinking has a spot for me. They teach me on the hood. I learn hood and little side panel, you know, and then they had me helping around in the class, you know, because they were doing schooling back then. Well, still do. So had me helping around in the class for a while, and then I ended up going and working for Danny, the guy who got me into it. Worked a lot for him for a while, and been doing work like subcontractor stuff and working for guys for most of my career. And yeah, I've been over at that BMW dealership for like 14 years now, which is a miracle. I mean, there's always a shelf life, it seems like. And
Yeah.
so
I think you're a pretty likable guy, and I think, you know, you're like me. A relationship goes a long way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's another thing too, is that if I could tell you guys out there, man, you're going to have a scenario where another dent guy is going to turn something down. And if that manager thinks it is doable and they know you or they give you a call, that's your in right there. Yep. That's getting your toe in the door. Even if you don't get the account, you got your foot in the door. And that was kind of one of the scenarios. Like, I'm working at the other competitor BMW dealership as well. So I'm doing the #1 in the nation, and then their competitor, weekly competitor. And so the main man over at the one got hired on at the other, and a dent guy over there said he couldn't do it. And he's like, hold on, let me call my guy. And so he gives me a call, and I'm like, Roger, Commander-in-Chief Roger? And he's like, yeah. So went over and spent 3 hours on it, got it done. And I'm over there now too. So, I mean, you're going to go through those periods where you've got tools scattered all over the ground. You're sweating profusely, but you get it done, or you attempt it and make them happy.
That's all you're doing, is making them happy. Right. You know, at the end of the day, some of those dents that you're going to get from some of the used places are never going to be perfect.
Right.
Never. Right. You know what I mean? And at that price point, they're never going to be perfect. You know what my guy says? Just make it look different. You know, if it's a really bad smash, he's like, just make it look different. Okay, I'm going to make it look different.
You're making them happy? Yeah.
That's all it is.
So this whole time just been doing route stuff. And this goes back to your question about the whole pandemic and has it affected business? And it's great, because through this, I learned that the dealerships weren't unstoppable. And through the highs and lows that we've had in the past, the dealerships always cranked along, especially dealerships like that, like BMW dealerships, those higher end ones where there's still going to be people buying cars. But during this pandemic, they came to a screeching halt, and they couldn't get cars, and it was bad. Like, if you can go in there and make, $150 or something, you were given thanks, it was that bad. And so back in October, I went. So the past like 3 years, I met you 2 years ago at MTE in Orlando.
Yeah.
And that was my first MTE. Went to the Vegas one recently. Went to MME in October. And if there's one thing I can ask you guys to do is just get involved with these shows. And what that's going to do is that's going to let you, meet all these different guys. And I'm surprised at just the group of guys in my area that I've met through there, and solid technicians too. And
they're more involved. All of this information is free.
Right.
Even the Mega Media event, it costs money, but it was a really good event.
That was the next part of my story. So,
and it's funny because we saw each other at MME, and you're like, bro, check out my logo. I got my shirts done. You were so excited. I'm like, your logo is fantastic. By the way, it totally gives me the surfer. Like, there's a big surf shop. We're about 2 hours from the beach here. And it was Endless Summer is the name of this surf shop there. And your logo looks so close to that. Every time I see it, it just makes me think of the beach. So good job. It fits you.
Yeah. So we actually got one of those companies where they have artists around the world, and you can get the package or whatever, and paid for 10 artists. And if you like it, you pay. If you don't, you get your money back. We found a guy out, I think in Japan, that did that logo for us. So we're like, sweet. But anyhow, so went to MME in October, and it was the best thing I could ever done. And looking back, it's just another one of those things where I know he's got me right in the palm of his hand, And so went and did that just to better my business. And at the end, Hiley offered that package for the website and the four months SEO or whatever it was included. And I went ahead and got that. And, we were probably already 5G into that trip with, hotel, but it needed to be done. And he mentioned how it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And if you're going to think you're going to get in and sprint, Google's going to catch you, and they're going to pencil whip you for it. So I thought, I got to do it now, And so I did it, and I wasn't sure. I was like, man, 4 months SEO, like I'm in Southern California. Like, I don't know if it's going to get me on front page. And Hiley told me, I even asked him, I was like, do you think I'm going to need to buy some extra SEO from you? So I need to get on front page. And he's like, nah, I think 4 months will do it for you. All right. And sure enough, man, it got me on page. And then this whole COVID thing went down, and the dealerships came to a screeching halt, but the phone started ringing. And most of my jobs before that were just referrals and stuff, but started actually getting phone calls, for retail jobs. And it couldn't have worked any better because the timing was perfect. And man, I'm busy, I wouldn't mind being just a tad bit busier, but yeah.
Things just happen. You know what I mean? Sometimes you sit back, and even throughout my career, I sit back and I'm like, man, that was such a terrible time, but it got me where I am now. You know what I mean? It's terrible time or great things happen, and you're like, okay, just a stepping stone. Yours was, you knew you needed it, but you were like, I'm okay. But Mega Media kind of pushed you over the edge.
Right.
And look what it did.
Right. And so just talking, and just the guys I even met at Mega Media, like Eric Emerson, one of the best parts of Mega Media, other than the knowledge, was going to lunch with him and Ted Hillman. And I'm not sure.
That was a good group. That was a good group of guys.
Oh man. And just going to lunch with those guys, it was one of the highlights of the trip. And
got to see some Australian pants from
man, Aaron's got that nailed. I need to do something like that. I can't. But yeah.
Snickers. That's what he calls them, Snickers.
I need to get some. But man, just MME, you guys get involved. Oh, that's what I was gonna say is I talked to a few other guys there that were doing their own website thing, and they were telling me, you know, if I were you, I would go with that thing Hiley's doing. He's like, all the stuff I've had to deal with, all the garbage and dealing with these guys that don't even know the industry, and you know, my website's not running smoothly, and you know, you're on the phone with these guys. I'm like, man, I don't want to deal with that. Like,
yeah,
it's the last thing I want to deal with. Can't even post enough. And then so yeah, I went with it, and it's running smooth. That's one of the things is your site's got to be running smooth, mobile. When they click on it, it's got to be, otherwise you're going to get docked for it. So I'm glad I did that. And here we are, and we're off and running. So yeah.
You know, it's crazy. You know, my wife used to say, Google reviews. Nobody looks at that. Nobody looks at that. Nobody looks at your website. I'd say 60% of my retail work comes from, you got great reviews.
Right.
You know, I don't know. I can say you're doing a fantastic job. I watch your little quick live or Instagram stories. You're doing a really good job, man. You know, you don't give yourself enough credit. Like, you were all scared to come on here, and I'm like, you're doing Instagram stories all the time. Like, you're going to be completely fine. You know, you're going to be completely fine. But I think sometimes we have to sit back and just do things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Get out of your comfort zone. And man, I look back when COVID hit here, you know, I looked at my first episode of this, you know, even though I think you started watching me on Chris's show, right? On the Dentless Touch show. So it's been 3 years, and longer than that. So, you know, the first time getting on here, you're like, I don't know if this is going to work. Like, I don't know, you know, and I mean, this thing's 78 episodes so far, not counting our trips, but you know, you got to get out of your comfort zone. Like, I was talking to James Giles from Dent Ninja when he was on after the show, and you know, just do it. Don't be scared what people think. I mean, I published a video and I drilled a hole in a lady's brand new car. I mean, you know what I mean? We were talking about that earlier. You just got to do it. You know, you know, like Matt from Get a Grip says, investing in yourself is the best investment. And he's 100%. He's 100% real. I mean, you have to invest in yourself. When you invest in yourself, I feel like you get a better reward.
Yeah.
You know, spending that money, you look at it, you're like, man, it's a lot of money. So was this $400 or $300 Glexo kit. It's the same thing. All of that stuff, your vehicle, your website, all of that stuff, your clothing, it's all tool. Everything you're buying for the business is a tool. Clothing, cell phone, everything, marketing material, they're all tools. So
speaking of vehicle, so that was another thing. Before I get into that real quick, so I embarrassed my daughter for the first time at school today. It was the greatest thing. I wasn't even ready for it. So I roll up in the rig. It's the long 170 wheelbase Benzo wrapped, and she sees me come in, and I can see it. She's embarrassed, and so I pull up at carpool. She jumps in, and she's like, "Oh, Dad, I'm embarrassed," and I started getting embarrassed because she was laughing so hard. And I was like, man, I wasn't even ready for it. At least like let me roll up playing My Little Pony or something.
yeah,
I wasn't even ready for that. So,
like a surfboard sticking out the passenger window or something in your wetsuit. That would have been fantastic.
that's great. But so that was another thing. When this COVID thing went down, I just thought, you know what, now's the time. I was driving to Tacoma before. It was no fun there's no room in those things, but having a driving billboard is what I've got now. And right when this COVID thing started going down, I thought, now's the time to pull trigger on that, get the van, wrap it, And now I think you've seen it on my post, but that's what we're running around in now. I haven't got a whole lot of calls yet. I've only been out on the road for about a month or so with it, but eventually, you know, they're gonna keep seeing you every day.
Yeah,
And
I mean it's huge. I mean, I have a competitor. It's a friend of mine, and he was like, "You're gonna logo your vehicle?" And I'm like, "Yeah, why?" And I'm like, "Bro, I sit in an hour of traffic every day. It's free." You know,
my daughter's 12. My daughter's 12 pack. Yeah, so I know. And in where you're at, I mean, you got to pay big money for a billboard like that. So
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's free. Let's get into this. If you had to pick one tip for a new tech, what would it be?
Don't post fridge dents. Do not post fridge dents. You don't want to mess with those. No, I made a mistake, and now I'm getting calls for fridges.
Yeah, they're terrible.
It's horrible, and there's no rhyme or reason with all the different makes and models. And it's like I can only charge like $150, and you're there. You leave unhappy. But that was kind of a lame joke. But for the new techs, you know, it'd be get as many good tools as you can. I know that the new techs, you're probably not making a ton of money right off the bat. Maybe you are. Start tooling up, because the guy with the tools is getting the job done. I've come across so many dents where you're wondering, why didn't the guy get this dent out? And he didn't have the tools. And I know a couple of guys that 20-year techs that they never got on board with the new tools. They still got that cart with the 12 tools, and you're just looking at that thing going, are you kidding me? And
I've got a guy locally that still rolls around an 8-foot tall fluorescent light on a wheel cart and uses that thing outside. And I'm like, bro, there's $400 and you don't have to pull an extension cord anymore. Like, come on, man.
Right. I know. I've seen it too. And so, and good techs, like they do decent work, you know, but they do a lot better work if they were up with the game. But
I think the time too. It's a time saver.
Yeah. And so I would say the tools, don't chintz, like Matt just said, invest in yourself. Cause I've been telling a couple guys I know, like, man, you're driving on this highway every day. You need to get a van. You need to get a van with your info on it. I mean, how do people know who you are? You got to get a van. Just start. Don't hold back. You got to spend the money, and you're going to make that. You're going to make it back. And I got a ways to go still with that whole thing, with the marketing and this and that. But I've started moving forward, and things are going in the right direction. And the same thing can happen with you guys. And nerd out on all these. You're getting a ton of free info these days. We didn't have this when we were growing up.
No.
I mean, we didn't have none of it. You had to learn what you learned all those years on your own in case you came across someone else who wanted to share something with you, but they weren't doing that either back then. So you got guys that are willing to give little nuggets of info. If you want it, it's there to take, because everybody's sharing stuff these days, and that's not what was going on when we were getting up in it. And you can just, I mean, and then all these other training platforms that are as cheap as it gets too. Yeah. So you guys have an LED lighting now, man. If we got started with LED lighting,
game over.
I know,
bro. I used to use a little Dent Wizard board with the fog line in it, and then I went to an illuminant light, and I was like,
exactly.
And I'm like, it's like HD television.
Yeah,
where's
your line board now?
Sitting over there in the toolbox, actually.
I know mine's in the van. I use it now, but that would be my advice to those young guys. You guys have it made. I mean, we didn't have that, and now
I think young guys are learning faster. They're fixing more complex damage,
Yes,
because of the tools and the technology.
absolutely. And then that would go right into the networking part of it as well. You guys start networking. I mean, I've got Mira in my area. I got Mira at Dentless. I can call that guy. Steve Brown, Chris Brown, Manny. Manny sent me work. I mean, we got Corey with Dentology. We got Matt Armijo, Mike. I mean, all these guys that are just in my Southern California. Just that network, when you come across problems, being able to hop on the phone and ask these guys, and what would you do here? I mean, it's invaluable. And I mean, just knowing a group of guys like that, they can toss you work when they're too busy, something that's a little outside of their zone. If they know you can handle some stuff, toss you work. And you start getting networking with guys like that, and then you start tossing work back. It's a wonderful thing. So that as well, networking, and get to those shows, the MTE and Burnie, all that stuff. So that's about what I got.
My tip is persistence wins the game. And what I mean by that is and it's even personal for me. You sit back and you're looking long term. Okay, you're making, I want this. This is what I want, right? And you're working to it. And you're years in, and you're like, man, I feel like I'm just on a treadmill. Like I'm just not getting there. You're just running. You see what you want. You're just running. You're just running. You're just running. You're making little notches in that belt. You're getting there. But when you get really close to what you want, you're like, okay. And then you get close to what you want, and you're like, okay. But the persistence is going to get you there. The persistence is going to push you and excel your growth. And one crazy thing that for me personally with COVID, I was always that guy that was go, 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 go. What's next? What's next? What's next? Okay, I want to do bigger. I want to be more. I want to do this. It's made me sit back and kind of appreciate things more. It really has. This year for me personally has been a huge personal growth. And it's made me sit back and say, okay, this is a good thing, just like like you come in MME, so excited. Check out my new logo. I'm so excited about this thing. It's the little things. Now you got a big Sprinter van wrapped. You know what I mean? It's little notches in that belt that get you to that finish line. It doesn't happen, all at once. If it happened all at once, you wouldn't appreciate it.
Right.
Keep up the good work, man. You're doing a fantastic job. You may not see it. That's why we originally reached out to you, I was like, I'm going to call him. We got to talk about this. We're going to have this conversation here because you've been following for years. So, we got to make this happen, and you have value. Every guy out here has value one way or the other. You know what I mean? Somebody's got a little sneaker tip in here that will mind blow. You know what I mean? That'll just help guys. I don't know. I think this year, the guys that really succeed through this year, I think it's a big help for them. It's a huge leap for a lot of these guys because we're in a terrible time in the world, and guys are doing really well. There are some guys that are struggling, but the whole world's struggling. But I think in the end of business, it's all about the shift. And what I mean by shift is you have to constantly make changes to make it work. You know what I mean? You constantly have to transition with that time. You know what I mean? If mobile's really kicking it, keep going mobile. If a retail location or if dealerships are rocking now, get it then. You have to keep shifting to make it work in this time of business. Same thing with restaurants. Restaurants are struggling out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? These restaurants here have really turned on the delivery and stepped up their delivery game. They need to. That's that end of shifting, of making an adjustment in your own business to make it work for what's going on at that time. So don't be scared to make little changes, just little changes in your business. Okay, maybe this will, and try it. If it fails, how much shit I failed on. Oh my gosh, I don't even want to go there.
Yeah, but you better learn something when you're down there. But one other thing from what you said, Ryan, is I would recommend that you just always remain teachable. Always remain teachable, because like you said, you'll learn something from everybody. You might be doing something one way and it works, and then you see someone else doing it another way, like, man, I'd rather be doing it that way, And so when you remain teachable, you keep your mind open. And you ever run across those guys that, man, they don't want to hear nothing from anybody, and it's like, man, I had a little nugget for you, dude. Yep. And I can't even share it with you because you don't want to hear nothing from anybody, So you just don't want to be one of those guys. You'd be surprised. You can learn stuff from one-year techs that they just got background on something that you have no idea about, and they'll open your eyes on something, and man, you're like, shoot, I'm glad I had my ears open and my mouth shut right then,
I'll tell you a funny story as we're touching that. I do a ton of roofs here. I don't know why, it just happens. One of the local guys here, Dave Johnson, he's over 21-year tech. And he's like, I don't get it. I don't know why you get all these roofs. And I'm like, can't help it. I'm the best. But, anyway, so I'm at a body shop, and the guy had a brand new Toyota Tacoma, brand new, like 5 days old, backed out of his garage, caught the antenna on the roof. And it really, really rocked it. Right. And it usually it impressions the very front of that antenna in the roof. No, it impressed like an inch forward, right? So I get it. And the opening for the antenna looks like a stalk of cabbage. You know what I mean? It's just broke open like this. The paint's jacked up. So I'm struggling with this thing a little bit. And I've got an old school, polished hammer and a dolly, and I'm dollying that thing, getting it flat like old metal work. And this old body tech walks over and he's like, what are you doing? Because he's always into my stuff. He sees my carbon rod and he's like looking at all this technology. And what are you doing? I said, I'm trying to get this hole closed up. And he's like, I'll be right back. Comes back. He's got these two pieces of metal, round discs with a bolt through the center of it. And he's like, put this through the hole, tighten it up, right? Stick his thing on. He's like, just tighten it as hard as you can. And I'm like, he's setting me up so he can fix this roof. You know what I mean? He's setting me up. And I'm cranking this thing and I pull it out. And that rectangle hole is absolutely perfect. And I was like, bro, where did you get this, right? So I'm taking pictures of it. I'll actually show you what the tool looks like. Perfect. And I was like, I can't even, I do so many roofs, I can't even explain how this worked. And this is all it was. This was literally it. It was literally two pieces of metal, and it worked fantastic. I took it apart so I could take some pictures. And what this was is the old school. You can't even find them. I've looked everywhere online. They're just not there. It's an old school tool. And what it was is an old school door lock. So back in the day when they used to blow the door locks out of the doors, when they break into them, that was a hole straightening tool that they used to make, but they don't have individual door locks anymore. So they stopped making the tool. But it was just one of those things of, I'm 19 years in. I fix 1 million roofs. I got this really nice dolly. I do it every time. I get this thing tight. He came over and I just sat back and I was like, where have you been my whole life? Where have you been? Just that little bit, you know what I mean? That little bit just, and what a huge tool that is for roofs. So just saying, I learned something still too. So.
Oh man. Yeah. One of the greatest things nowadays, like before you see a guy across the street at another lot or something, they'd be mad dogging you and don't let me catch you over here. Nowadays you roll up over there, sneak up behind them, you're like, hey, is there a woodpecker over here? What's going on? Jackhammer in the streets over here again? And it's just funny because things have simmered down for the most part, unless you run into a guy like that we're talking about. But man, it's so cool just to run into techs. I've met so many guys just rolling up on them. And a great way to do that, guys, is go up and talk tools. Yep. I mean, that'll just lay it out. I mean, we could sit here and talk tools forever, but you just go over and show them some tools. Hey man, I just wanted to show you what I picked up the other day. It's working great. And it just really, the guards go down and you end up making a friend. And
I had that same guy with that 8-foot long fluorescent light as a thing. And I walk over and he's got this massive picnic table umbrella, like taped to this thing and bungee cord. And I walk over and I'm like, hey, Chuck, I've talked to him before. Hey, Chuck. He's like, hey, man, how, we talk for a minute. And I'm like, check this out. Suction cup under, umbrella. And he's like, where did you get that from? And I'm like, where have you been?
Yes. And another.
But now he runs up to the truck and he's like, you get anything new? You know what I mean? You get anything new?
Yeah, that's another one, guys. If you don't have like a mobile shade, like a Get a Grip, or what's the other one? Is it
Mobile Tech Shade? Yeah,
Mobile Tech Shade. If you guys don't have one of those, you definitely want to get one of those, because when you're out working and people are passing by, that's an eye grabber. And if you're trying to catch some attention, you put that thing on there, they're gonna notice who you are just by that umbrella. You're gonna catch their eye, and then they see who you are, and they'll be getting a hold of you at some point. So that's another good one, right? And
it helps with. I mean, those things keep you out of the sun, man. The sun gets brutal.
Absolutely.
Well, look, brother, I appreciate you coming on. I was excited for this show. It was a good one.
Thanks for having me, bro. It was such an honor when you asked me, man. I didn't know what I was doing. I'm like, all right, but
piece of cake.
So thankful that you had me on, and I haven't missed a show. And it's one of those things that's become part of my weekly routine. And my wife, she knows on Thursdays I'm watching RPS Dent Specialist. So.
It's funny because my wife, when I came home tonight, she's like, who's that guy on your Instagram page? Because I reposted your story, and I was like, oh, that's the guy that's coming on tonight. And she's like, these people like really make this like their routine to hear you babble on YouTube and Facebook. And I was like, I guess so. So,
Well, keep it up, brother. We're all watching, and all the guests you've had, man. You've had some great shows, and that's why we keep coming back. So just keep it up.
I got some good stuff in the works. So it's gonna get. I'm mixing it up a little bit here. So as soon as we get through the Black Friday show, you're gonna see. It'll be some fun stuff. So I'm gonna start the giveaways again too. As long as they don't shut the post office down here, we are starting some closures here again. So, but I got a ton of stuff to give away. And like I said, how can guys find you on social media?
All right. So on Instagram, I'm at Pacific Coast PDR. Facebook, you can find me there too, but it's Pacific Coast Paintless Dent Removal on Facebook. You can reach me at pacificcoastpdr.com, or you can the easiest way to get a hold of me, guys, you have any questions, I have my phone on me at all times. Like Ryan said, you guys have a BMW question, 714-722-0911. I'm here to help. I don't mind answering questions. You guys have anything, just holler at me, man. I can work and put the phone on at the same time. So don't be afraid to get a hold of me. That's the way you get a hold of me. So I appreciate it, Ryan. And man, it's been awesome.
Keep it up, dude. Keep doing your lives. I enjoy them. And you're fixing some gnarly dents. So just keep up the good work, dude.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
All right, man. You have a great evening.
All right, everyone. Thank you.
What a fantastic guy. You know what I mean? Dave is just, I don't know. I met him originally met him through Dentless Touches live show. And then we met it at MTE and just Mega Media, and just one of those guys that just reach out and open book. So like I said, you guys have a fantastic evening. Thanks for watching. If you need to just talk, get something off your chest, reach out. We're here. It's a good thing about our community is we're all open books. So get back to your evening. Quit hearing me babble, and wash your damn hands. Have a great evening. Thanks for joining us, and keep it real. See you guys.